Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're back, people. We are back. We got a beautiful new setup, and I want to say a big shout out to Tim James for helping us out tonight. Frank Joseph Hoff is our guest tonight. We're going to talk about the lost continent of Atlantis. It's going to be absolutely great. And if you see me kind of wandering around, I'm still getting used to the studio, but I'm glad to be back. It's been way, way too long. All right. You know what it's time for? It's time for roll call. How good is that? Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Mel WD-40 lubing us up with a silver. Road Flare taking home a bronze medal tonight. And Tim Mothman and his goatee. How you doing? Emperor Penguin, nice to see you. Eternity Eternal. And Race Fan, how you guys doing? Jaquetta is here. Jaquetta will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Frankie B, how are you? Bar Madison, nice to see you. Attorney at large, Michael Morris. Mama Catherine, I'm so happy you are here. So happy you are here. I love you, dear. I love you so much. And T-Bone, my man, how are you doing? Good to have you back, my friend. As we continue on with our roll call, Lisa Smith is here. Radio Wendigo, JSCO, Necessary Dialogue. Magnus Vermagnuson is here. Magnus Vermagnuson will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Continuing on here, we next say hello to Javier Cryptid 559. He'll be our guest tomorrow night on the show. It's going to be great. Gory Tiger, how are you? Thank you for joining us. And who's next on our list here? Well, let's see here. It's Paul Demon, Robert Lamoth. How you guys doing? Good to see you. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show and this new era. Super crazy. Good to see you. Brett M. Woolley on X. How you doing? Thank you for reposting the stream. Appreciate that. Thank you. As we continue on with our roll call here, up next, we have Kitty Caddywhack kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show every night. So thank you, Kitty, for your love of SOR. Cody Eiler, ST, Corey, and Cody Dodson. How you doing? Cody, welcome to SOR Chat. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. Matthew Goodka, Joanne, nice to have you back. And Tartar Sauce, it's been a while. How you doing? Jay Trueseeker, hope you're doing well, my friend. As we continue on with our roll call, there's Alien Critter hanging on out. Lulu Bell, good morning to you in the UK. Much love to you. Mr. Cowley, hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you for coming on out. And Jerens Carter, nice to have you here. Paramarv, thank you for joining us. Hi, Parasolo. And who else is coming in here? It's Cosmic Joe, everybody. Give him a wave. He always waves back as we continue on with our roll call. Little Robbie Minus, I'll give you a hat tip for that. How you doing, buddy? Hope you did well at Nationals. And let's see here. Exquisite, how you doing? Nice to see you tonight. Signs of Life, good to have you here. Hi, Wayne. Thank you for coming on in. Ozzy, how are you? And we are in roll call right now. So we're scrolling on down, and let's get the radio and podcast side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we have Frank Joseph Hoff talking about Atlantis tonight. How exciting is that? This is a topic we don't do enough. We are in roll call on our YouTube side, so we say hello to Monica. How are you? Pam Harris, thank you for that amazing super chat. I missed you, Pam. I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. Thank you for your love. And Mel WD40, or make that Area 54 becoming a member on our YouTube chat. Thank you very, very much, Area 54. We love you, my friend. And you know what? We are caught up. Do yourself a favor, do a little shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show to kick off tonight as we are going to find Atlantis. Author, researcher, Frank Joseph Hoff is here to talk about this amazing subject tonight. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here. And right after that, we're going to have Josh Rutledge filling in for an ailing Tim James tonight, but he will give us the lowdown on the UFO report. So let's get right to it, everybody. It feels like it's been forever since I have been in studio, and I'm so glad to be back. Literally, people wondering what we have been doing recently, because if you're on the radio side, you've heard a lot of replays lately. Well, we literally tore the entire SOR studio down, and we rebuilt it. We rebuilt it from scratch, new computers, new toys to play with new mixing boards, new chairs, new scenery around. We literally did everything except paint the walls. Yeah. But the cool part about it is sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get things done when you want to get it done right. It's better to get it done right the first time than it is to continue on. So if you're wondering why on the radio side you've been hearing a lot of replays lately, well, that's the reason. We literally tore down the studio. We rebuilt the studio here at SOR headquarters in the Caribou region of British Columbia, Canada, Western Hemisphere, in this beautiful planet we call Earth. And we are back, and I am so proud to be back with you. But enough about me. We got to get to our guest tonight. Frank Joseph Hoff graduated in 1982 from the University of Washington Foster School of Business in Seattle, where he earned a bachelor's degree in business administration with concentrations in both marketing and management and organization. Well, from a very young age, though, Frank has become very interested in the sciences and ancient mysteries. Example, the lost city and continent of Atlantis. He was further inspired by such movies as the Indiana Jones series, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, watching documentaries, reading magazines on ancient archaeology and lost civilizations, and by listening to talk radio shows. And you know what? He is now here. He's a very great guest for many of us, and we're glad to introduce him to the first time to the Spaced Out Radio audience. Frank Joseph Hoff, it is great to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Yes, good evening to you, Dave, and all your listeners and viewers, for that matter, throughout the, United States and Canada and maybe other parts of the world. It's great to be on with you. I will be speaking on behalf of the late Professor Auricio Nunes dos Santos, PhD of Brazil, who passed away on September 9th of 2005. I also refer to him usually in short as Professor Auricio Santos. His book, by the way, is Atlantis, the Lost Continent Finally Found, with the subtitle, The Definitive Localization of Plato or Plato's Lost Civilization. I want to preface the show and say that we're not here, we don't have any political agenda, religious agenda, social agenda, ethnic agenda, economic agenda even. We just mainly have an agenda just to get the truth out, mainly from a scientific standpoint or viewpoint.
I love it. I love it. Before we get deep into that, let's learn a little bit about you for our audience, Frank. How did this mystery of Atlantis come to your attention, and why did you fall in love with looking into the subject?
Okay, well, here's what transpired. I was doing some pro bono research for Richard Hoagland. You may have know of him from Mars, famous for the Mars Cydonia region and those kind of areas, and maybe the moon. And while I was doing some research for him, I ran across the website just after Professor Santos got it up in about 1997, 1998, late 1997, early 1998. And I contacted him through his son, Bernardo, at the time. And he was, because I found his website very interesting. It's very different about Atlantis than any other website I've ever seen before on Atlantis or heard about anything. It's very unusual, his writing. So I checked in to see who the heck is this guy here, this professor, and why is his material so different? And his website I was looking at is called www.atlan.org. It's an ORG website. It's the first 5 letters of Atlantis with a .org website. And you can bring that website up, or your listeners, or also under the other one I put it under too is Atlantis Publications. So at www.atlantispublications, all around together, plural.com. And so I started following up by contacting his son and then getting in touch with Professor Santos. And I mentioned about maybe getting him on, the radio or interviews and things like that he should be doing this kind of thing. But he hadn't gotten his book out in English yet, and we knew that he really needed to get it out in English because he had an older one, another thing we're looking to translate is in Portuguese. It's on Lemuria and Atlantis and the Philosopher's Stone and alchemy and things like that. It was really his first book in Atlantis. It's in Portuguese, but not too many people are going to be getting the news through the Portuguese language. Usually you have to have it in English and then get it in other languages afterwards for people to take it seriously. And so that's what we proceeded on doing. Professor Santos, his seminal research work on Atlantis is solidly based on science results from both the exact and human sciences. He did this with regards to epistemology, which is a philosophical science concerned with framing of theories and scientific analysis. Because in order to do this work properly, with the problem of Atlantis requires both the support of the occult traditions and of official science. And you can't leave one out with the other, because sometimes you have to know about the hidden meanings and symbols behind things with the occult tradition, as well as double checking everything with the official science, and also for him to be able to test the science. So after many discussions with him, I found out that he had reverse engineered it back to the true original real location where Atlantis existed, not a remnant, not a colony, not an outpost, but the exact location that supported a population of maybe something like around 25 million people in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age, which is the most recent ice age, the Pleistocene. So Professor Santos was the Atlanteans' representative and messenger. And now, because he passed away on September 9th of 2005, that I'm more or less the representative of the Atlanteans, or their messenger now, to get the word out. And I said, mainly, like I said, from a scientific standpoint. By the way, our website will translate into 104 languages, 104, because this is really not just about the discovery of the lost city and continent of Atlantis, but it's about humanity. Over to you, Dave.
To describe that, it's not just about Atlantis, it's about humanity. I'm interested in your take on that.
Well, it goes back to how the destruction of Atlantis occurred, some of it. And that happens to be because they had a war between the Dravidas and also the Ariel Semites. That's the Great War of Atlantis. And they had some wars and battles, which, by the way, they're famous for having these giant elephants, bigger than the African elephant or the Indian elephant, which they use for wars and battles. And they're called stegodons, and so they were famous for that, as well as a lot of other things. But yeah, I mean, one side wanted to get up on the other side, so they ended up having a little bit of a nuclear war going on, which is not the first time, by the way. And we dropped a atom bomb or a nuclear bomb in Hiroshima or Nagasaki, but actually it was in the areas of Atlantis, and also in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, which is now more Pakistan. It used to be more India at the time, but the borders get changing. And also in Samaria in Iraq and some of those areas as well. They used some tactical nuclear weapons at times, but also they got into doing a more of a giant display by dropping down one of the weapons down the Krakatoa volcano, because they thought that might, get one up on the other side. But the thing is that it ended up going off a lot more than they expected it to, and it could cause a chain reaction, which Professor Santos well knew about, because he was a nuclear engineer and a nuclear physicist. I should also go over his background just to mention these things.
Sure.
He was a professor at a major university down in Brazil called the Federal University of Minas Gerais in the city of Belo Horizonte in the state of Minas Gerais in Brazil. He was into electronics, instrumentation, physical chemistry, nuclear physics, nuclear engineering, relativity, cosmology, cryptology. He also is in archaeology. He studied, of course, on Atlantis, linguistics, ethnology, occultism, alchemy, and published books on this in Portuguese and now in English. And he has a tremendous background, which is listed on our curriculum vitae on our website. It goes several pages. He was he sat on all sorts of boards and committees throughout Brazil and some other parts of South America. He also certified PhD and master degree students. he sat on energy committees and that sort of thing. He spoke 14 languages as well, Dave. 14 languages.
Wow.
So this is the kind of master researcher and scientist you have to have in order to decode not just a 1,000-piece puzzle or 2,000-piece puzzle of Atlantis, but something like a billion-piece puzzle that got scattered all around the world, and you had to piece it back together, not force-fitting it, not jamming in pieces, but actually put them in precisely and nice and neatly and make sure they fit correctly in order to get a clear picture of what Atlantis was about, its people, the civilization, and also some of their inventions and things like that. And so he had to dig very deep to get this information, a lot deeper than anybody else that I know has ever tried to do this kind of thing, because he was from pure academia, and people from academia don't think too highly of Atlantis or Lemuria, which is the motherland of civilization. And the reason is they got turned off, the engineers, scientists, academics, because people doing this work that didn't have necessary backgrounds and disciplines were not doing the work properly. And so we understand why they got turned off, because they were being pointed in the wrong place all the time. In other words, they're pointed to the wrong haystack or haystacks for a needle in the haystack, which would never find it because you're looking in the wrong haystack or haystacks all this time. And so what we're doing here is we're pointing finally to the right haystack or the right place where you can find Atlantis located at right geographical area of the world. And this way, you have a chance of actually finding something, which we have, by the way. So that's the first thing. And so we understand why they got turned off, because if you, Dave, if somebody kept on telling you over and over where to go on something, and you just kept on going there, it's like almost like the boy who cried wolf. You know, it's over and over and over again. You finally just give up on them, right? And you just don't want to have anything to do with them, which we understand. But Professor Santos was a scientist that could test the science, and he was a pure academia, so he was one of them. And these people don't come out that often because of this taboo situation subject. That makes sense to you, Dave?
Sure does. Sure does. I want to ask you, in this first half hour here of the show, as we got about 6.5 minutes before we have to go to break, Frank Joseph Hoff is here to talk about Atlantis. For a lot of people, we have heard of Atlantis. We know bits and pieces that it's disappeared off the planet. What do we know about Atlantis? Give us a little bit of education.
Well, the one thing is we do know now, and a lot of people have an illusion about this, is that Atlantis did not sink. It's that sea levels rose. And they not only just rose once, but actually several times. Once originally like a tsunami, which is, by the way, a tsunami is not a tidal wave. It's a harbor wave. It's not influenced by the moon, but it's influenced by seismic or volcanic activity. And so when you're out in a vessel and you're looking at Atlantis or the geography or the land, it looks, at the time of Atlantis, it looks like it sunk, but it's actually at sea levels rose. It's an optical illusion. So that's one of the main things I wanted to point out about that.
Where was it located?
And where is it located now, or just overall?
Back then. Was that when the continent was still Pangea, or just after the separation?
Well, no, I think it was after the separation. That goes back. See, the question is, what you ask for me is on Lemuria Atlantis, which is Lemuria means mu is out of Lemuria, it means mother or motherland, the motherland of civilization, and that goes back several 100,000 years. But the Pangea, that goes back maybe millions of years because of a thing called continental continental drift. So I think it was after that it was the case, as far as I know.
Do we know much about the civilization? Do we know how many people were there? Uh, Maybe through scriptures that have been written over the millennia. What do we know?
Well, we know that they had a big army, and this goes back maybe to the question of the question you asked me before about the humanity. They had a big army, and they're very powerful, in a well-to-do society. At least Atlantis proper was. The motherland civilization was a little bit less advanced, but they ended up advancing over a period of time. But there was a war of Atlantis, and so that's one of the things we learned a lesson about something like these nuclear weapons or technical nuclear weapons. You have to be very careful of that kind of thing, because you could really wipe out most of the population on Earth, which we wiped out about 70%, or they did about 70% of the mammals on Earth, because it went off more in a chain reaction more than they thought it would, by dropping a bomb down the Krakatoa volcano at the time, which was not a very good idea in a sense, because it almost ended civilization, human civilization. That's why I mentioned this thing about humanity. And so we got to be nice to each other, a lot nicer, because you have to depend on the other person for your life, and so on. Because when you have one of those events happen, you go back more or less to the Iron or Stone Age, and so you have to rebuild. Which, by the way, they did rebuild over a period of over 60,000 years to the advanced civilization of Atlantis proper.
Do we know what the culture was like? Do we have any written history on what people were doing, what they were like? You mentioned that they had you believe it was that they had a big military. Why did they need that military?
Well, they traded. They had trading routes, and they traded with other countries and regions around the world. They are very big on seafaring vessels, and they know how to navigate the seas and oceans and so on. Which, by the way, it's called the Oceans of the Atlanteans, is the original one, which I would like to go through in more detail, but I know we're coming up to a break, and explain exactly how things got so confused.
Well, we got
about where Atlantis is located. Okay. Well, I can mention some of it. The oceans got changed throughout time, but the original oceans was called the Oceans of the Atlanteans, the Atlantis Ocean, but not where it's located today. The name of the Indian Ocean got changed to the Erythraean Sea, and then also to the Indian Ocean. So that got changed. If it stayed Atlantis or Atlantic Ocean, it would have been okay. Less confusion for everybody. But the one that they kept is between East Coast of the United States and, let's say, Europe. And that's the Atlantic Ocean as we call it today. But it would have been better off if that would have got changed to something like the English Ocean. It would have been less confusing, and left either the Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean, called the Atlantis Ocean, which actually the whole thing is coterminous. It means you can sail from one part of the ocean of the world into the other sea, into connect to the other ocean, and they all connected. And so you could get around from one location to the next. And that's called coterminous. There's a scientific word for that. But a person by the name of Vasco Balboa, the explorer, discovered the Pacific Ocean, but he didn't name it. It was named by Ferdinand Magellan when he saw it through the Straits of Magellan. And so that's what he saw as a very peaceful and calm ocean, from the word Pacificar, which is a repetitive verb for Portuguese or Spanish. And so we either shortened the Pacificar to Pacifica or Pacifico, depending where you leave it, how you
Right. Frank, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Frank Joseph Hoff telling us about Atlantis tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm getting used to all this new equipment here. So it's good though. Very, very good. Flat Six, how you doing? Good to see you. It is great to see all of you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you. Trust me, it's been a long 3 weeks, man. A long 3 weeks. And it was one of those things, when you start a project, okay, when you start a project and all of a sudden it becomes bigger and bigger because you don't know the issues that are underlying. Yeah. And it all started with our new motherboard. You can't see it, but it's right here. It all started there. Why did that go to sleep? Oh, that's still recording. That's good. Hopefully that worked. Yeah, we should be in there. Hold on. Right there. Let's go like this. Like that. I wonder why that went to sleep. We'll cure it. We'll cure it. Yeah, so there are still little wrinkles that are going on that we do have to kind of figure on out, but we shall get there. I promise. I promise. But thank you for your patience, everybody. Thank you for understanding with what we were doing. Nicholas T, how you doing? What's happening, my man? And let's see who else is here. Fast Hemi, good to see you. Tyler 420, thanks for coming on in. And we're good, man. We're good. It's really weird. Like, we changed the lighting in here a little bit, and seeing it become a little bit darker is like, for you guys, it's not dark, but it's not bright. And for me, it's like really dark. Really dark. Elevated Gaming, how you doing? Yes, thank you for coming on into our chat room. I believe this may be your first time in our chat room, so welcome and thank you. Oh man, I'm just so pumped up to be here. I'll be honest with you, everyone. I was really nervous tonight. Really nervous for a couple of reasons. When you restart something, you always want to make sure that the technology is working and that everything is kind of where it's supposed to be and working the way it is. We got that. And then it's just, you haven't done it so long, so you get rusty. You get rusty. It's just very cool to be back. Very cool to be back. I'm a happy guy tonight. And remember, you can get your mugs, your Spaced Out Radio mugs, at our store. I told you, we do not have ugly swag, people. Look at these cups. Look at those cups. And my water that I poured in here, probably 2 hours ago now, is still cold. I love it. Love it. You can get them at our store. We do not have ugly swag. Promise you. Appreciate the loop, Mel. Appreciate it. All right, we got about a minute and a half here before we're going to get going. Josephus, how you doing, my man? It's actually the color on the walls, if you're wondering what the color is, it's actually cognac. And I wish you could see the roof, because the roof is actually blueberry blue. And it looks really good as a mix together. It does. All right. Smokes a lot. How are you? And we got about 30 seconds. Thank you tonight to Kitty Caddywhack and Pam Harris, Jeffrey, and T-Bone, my man, for the great super chats. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And thank you to all of their members on our YouTube channel. We appreciate your monthly support and contributions to help us out. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Here we go, everybody. Here we go into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are challenging ourselves about Atlantis. Frank Joseph Hoff will join us here momentarily. But first, we want to say to all of you, you can find us on any terrestrial radio network. You can listen to our free podcasts on every major podcast network, and of course on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Frank Joseph Hoff is here. We're talking about Atlantis. And where did it go? What happened to it? If you want to check out his website, go to atlan.org or atlantispublications.com. Frank, thank you so much for being here tonight. We greatly appreciate you taking time for us.
Hey, no problem. I did want to follow up on the last thing I was saying about Vasco Balboa discovering the Pacific Ocean, but he didn't name it. And it was named by Ferdinand Magellan when he saw it through the Straits of Magellan for the first time. He saw the very passive and calm ocean at that time. And so he named it for the infinitive verb, Spanish or Portuguese called Pacific Car. And from that, we dropped the O or the A, depending on how you use it in the sentence. And so we shortened it to Pacific or use it as Pacifico or Pacifica. So and the name stuck. That's what happened. And then it got changed off of what should have been the oceans of the Atlanteans, which is coterminous ocean around the world at the time. And so everything kind of got broken up, and so that's why we lost where the general or the more or less exact location of Atlantis is. Everybody thinks it was in the Atlantis Ocean as it's called today, or the Atlantic Ocean it's called today. But it's not. That's just the whole thing. It's different place altogether, and that happens to be because Professor Santos was actually able to decode the word of Atlantis itself, which was encoded in 3 different languages. He also found out the language that the Atlanteans spoke, which not too many people, unless they listened to one of my broadcasts in the past, knows about that language. But the language is encoded in was Ancient Greek, Sanskrit, and Dravida. Dravida is the language of the Atlanteans at the time, the pristine language. It's the language of the birds. And I could break down if you want, but it's going to be a little complicated about how that word tells where the location or basic location of Atlantis, besides the reverse engineering that Professor Santos did to
I'm ready for it. If you want to go get into it, I think our audience would love to hear it.
Okay, I'm going to take this as slow as I can because it's a little hard on me as well as maybe your audience. I don't know. Okay, the name of Atlantis comes from the name Atlas, A-T-L-A-S that is, and the middle letter derives from the Greek radix, T-L-A, which means to bear, but with a negative A in front of A-T-L-A means not to bear, or not or unable to bear the weight of the skies. As Atlas is often portrayed with weak serpentine legs when you see pictures of him holding up on his back a globe of the world. The Greek name is derived from similar Sanskrit, one of Atala, which is the Hindu hell, the site of the Hindu sunken paradise. The part of Atala in Sanskrit is Tala, which means pillar or pillar of heaven, and it can also mean earthland. So again, with a negative A, the word Atala means no land. In Dravida, the language of the Atlanteans, this word is formed from Ata Allah. The first root of Ata means foot soles, footsteps, or antipodes, or antipodo. Now, I want to stop for a second here. Antipodo means opposite side of the earth, opposite side of where, let's say the opposite side from Europe, okay, the opposite side. The second root, Allah, means sunken land, lagoon, or marshland island. Furthermore, appending the suffix of TIS in the word Atlantis, it also can be spelled TIV and pronounced TIW in Dravida, as the V's are pronounced as W in Dravida, such as Java is pronounced Jawa. And even today, in that area of Southeast Asia or other in some areas, it's known as Jawa, not Java, like Sumatra and Java. But it's Jawa. The W is pronounced as V, just like in Hawaii, it's not Hawaii, it's Hawaii, and it means mountain island. It means mountain island. So in short, Atlantis is located in the sunken mountain island marshland on the opposite side of the world in the east, which is from Europe, is the farthest west across the Atlantic Ocean and across the Pacific Ocean, where it meets the Indian Ocean, to where it is now called Indonesia and the surrounding area of Southeast Asia. Hope I didn't go too fast on that.
No, you're good. You're very good.
It's complicated, but it took a lot of work to decode this, because I don't think anybody else has ever done that before, because Professor Sansel, one of those 14 languages, he spoke with Dravida, and Dravida is close to another language, which is Dravidian, first of all, and it's another derivative of that is called Tamil, and Tamil is called Tamil or Tamil or Tamir. It's 4 ways you can say it. Is spoken today over in Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and in parts of southeast, southwest India. So it's located also on our website. If you scroll down in the upper right-hand corner to the different languages, you can put Tamil in there and actually get the whole website, or most of the website, I should say, and translated into Tamil, if that's what you prefer to speak, or that's what you do speak. Or if you don't like that language, you can get it in Swahili, okay? And if you don't like that, you can go to French, Spanish, English, German, whatever you want to do. Because again, this is about humanity, and we want everybody to understand where we all came from. Civilization was developed, and about your heritage and other people, and how things got civilized and inventions got created throughout the world. Like one of the most important inventions of all time was agriculture, and it's followed by animal domestication or animal husbandry. I think also going along with that, I got to thinking about this the other day, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. The next biggest invention was probably the wheel. So when you had these kind of things like agriculture, animal domestication, and the wheel, you could get away from being a hunter-gatherer all day long and be able to develop things like religion and philosophy and sciences and metallurgy and a whole lot of other things, and so this is all a process over time in developing civilization and humanity.
So to take this down a little bit here, just for my own kind of thinking, and maybe I'm asking an oversimplified question here, but do you believe then that Atlantis was in the Middle East somewhere?
No, not in the Middle East. As a matter of fact, Atlantis, because it's in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age, pretty much everything that's above 30 degrees north latitude and everything below 30 degrees south latitude is pretty much out of the question, because you're in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age. You got to support a population of over 25 million plus people. And so those are not the places. There's got to be a place where you have the right amount of precipitation, you got a right amount of soil, you also have the right weather, because you've got to be temperate climate. All these factors got to come together. And that location is located, like I say, on the opposite side of the world, which is in Southeast Asia, mainly in Indonesia and the surrounding area there in Southeast Asia, which is part of Malaysia and some of the Philippines and so on, but mainly Indonesia. And that's where the Krakatoa volcano is at. And by the way, Krakatoa is how you say it in English. Krakatau is it more like when the Indonesians would say it, or the Asians. And Krakata is how it's said in Sanskrit, and Krakaka in Dravida. And what it means is to saw in half the island of Java, which used to be Upper Java and Lower Java. And now it's the Sumatra, and it's in Java, or Jawa, depending on how you want to say it. And so it sawed it in half because of the Krakatoa volcano, and not the one in 1883, one 11,600 years ago.
When did we think, maybe in a time period of when Atlantis existed? I mean, I've heard 100,000 years, I've heard 1,000,000 years ago. I mean, when do we have this idea when it was around?
Well, it may go back hundreds of thousands of years for Lemuria Atlantis and other land civilization. But it got more or less destroyed the first time around by the Toba volcano, which is up in what they call Sumatra today, Upper Java. And so they had to rebuilt. And they rebuilt by going into Indias and parts of Indias where the locals were receptive to it, because they weren't all receptive. There's a diaspora into that area. And so that's kind of like almost like a second Atlantis. India is the fatherland of civilization, where Lemuria Atlantis is the motherland of civilization. And so they rebuilt over a period of 60,000 years. Can you imagine how advanced we would be when it came 60,000 years rather than just 1,000 years?
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
I couldn't even imagine.
So they had all the different types of technology, even beyond us. They could navigate the oceans of the world. They knew where they were going. As a matter of fact, when after they rebuilt, the Krakatoa volcano went off at about 11,600 years ago and ended the Pleistocene Ice Age, because he found out that volcanoes can trigger on the Ice Age. Professor Samples also figured out they can trigger one off. And so that's how the Pleistocene Ice Age ended, because of this whole mechanism called the Heinrich effect.
Outside of any scripture, is there any clues that extremely amateur people, or maybe with people with a keen interest, could look to see how we know it actually existed?
Well, this whole thing relates to the Great Flood and all these types of things that are in Bibles and religious books and things like that, because it's pretty much universal that this information got dispersed, and it wouldn't be that way if it wasn't something really to it. So, but you have a Krakatoa volcano go off because it went off, but also because somebody dropped a nuclear weapon down the Krakatoa volcano and went off in a chain reaction much more than they thought it would. And so what you have in those cases to show how this happened is a thing called a nuclear signature. It's not something like Professor Sansels or myself can fake. And if we faked it, it would only be a signature with a half-daughter half-product nuclear products today, half-life nuclear products. Today, it has to be 11,600 years ago, so it has a signature going back to that date. So there's no faking this kind of stuff, and also they've picked up these signatures because of the way it converts sand to glass. It could take like a nuclear explosion to do that. It's in Samaria, Iraq, Mohenjo-daro, or Rapa areas in the past. So, they rebuilt over this period of time until the advanced civilization, and then the tsunami is part of this because it went in and wiped out, over 20 million people in a day and a night, between the people being burnt and being flooded out, just like we saw in Aceh in 2004 when the tsunami went into Banda Aceh in northern part of seismic activity in Indonesia. Is on December, I think, 24th, 25th, right then, right around the holiday season. And a lot of people were there. It got wiped out in the area of over 400,000 people just recently, at that time. But those waves went up only like maybe something like 20 meters or 40 meters or something like that. At the time of Atlantis, when the seismic activity went off, it went up about over 1,500 meters, maybe 1,700 meters high. So it took out a continent, but it just like the Aceh effect, it receded. That's what a tsunami does. It goes in, it goes out, and then it comes back in, and then it goes out again. And so it recedes. And but it takes out people and more or less sucks them back out to the ocean. A lot of people went out seeing that the ocean was, the sand was, like the tide went out. But that was a big mistake. You got to go inland to the highest point you can. You can save your life and the lives of other people who might be with you, around you. So,
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, it got that kind of, but it did go back out. But what happened is, because the end of the Pleistocene Ice Age, there's a thing called the albedo effect, where the fly ash from the volcano itself came down upon the glaciers of, let's say, North America and Europe and so on. And when we were in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age, you had ice and, all on the continent. It went up a mile or 2 miles high on the continent, sitting on all this ice. But when you have the fly ash come down after a while and this black soot, it amplifies the sunlight and absorption of it on the glaciers. And this is called the albedo effect. Now, on our website and our book, there's little book link numbers. They go from 001 to 187, and each book link generally has about 3 links to each book link, which has about 400. On 012, it's not just us saying it, but this goes to a NASA website showing about the albedo effect and how it was absorption versus reflection of sunlight can melt the glaciers and ice off the continent. And then that has to go someplace too, after it gets melted. So where does it go? Down into the oceans, into the sea. And when you have to take a lot of ice and not weight off the continents, there's a big, weight alleviation. And so things start cracking and crumbling and have to sort out over a period of time. It goes also into the oceans, where you have a lot of underwater volcanic activity going on, seismic activity, because you put a big weight on the ocean all of a sudden, the floor. So this all had to balance out over a period of time, which maybe took 1,000 years. And this is where you get the universal flood and everything, because after that, after the initial tsunami receded and everything, then the sea levels eventually rose because of the albedo effect of glaciers being melted and going into the sea. And in that area of Indonesia and Southeast Asia, it rose 130 to 150 meters because it's a shallow area over there. Before, if you drop it down 130 to 150 meters, the whole continent appears, which is a continent which is the size of the entire continental United States, with Alaska and Hawaii combined. That's the area of the continent of Atlantis.
There's so much made up about, were these people that look like you and I? Were these people, and trust me, if they look like me, that's just, a bunch of hideous looking gnomes with big beards, but when we look at these people, if we could call them that, were they people? Were they an alien civilization, as many have questioned? What do you think they were? Or who do you think they were?
Well, it's speculative that they possibly could have come from another planet at one time, maybe going back hundreds of thousands of years with Lemuria Atlantis. But this is kind of speculation. It could have been a Mars-type like planet. Could have been. Professor Sampson was able to figure out that that their brains were about 30% larger than ours today, and they were into some type of genetic manipulation too, genetic engineering. So they were able to do that kind of a thing as well. So other than that, I don't know as much about it as I could, but still more information comes out. There's a lot of information, and it takes a lot to go over because we have something like 30,000 pages of scientific information to go through.
What's the greatest piece of evidence that you have seen personally that Atlantis was real and needs to be studied more?
Well, there's several different things going on. There's been when I went there originally to Atlantis, Indonesia, it's for a seminar on the ancient Sunda land. It's also called Sunda land, and they speak the language of Sunda there too. Besides the language of the overall language of Indonesia today is called Bahasa Indonesia. They also speak around Jakarta another language derivative called Betawi. But Sunda or Sunda land, there's in an area. It's up in the mountains of not too far from a city called Cianjur, and we discovered a mountain pyramid that goes back maybe as much as 22,000 years. They started doing core sample drillings of it, and it ended up going back, like 12,000 years. The deeper they went, 15,000 years, then 20,000 years, then 22,000 years, and they've had it analyze these core samples in one lab over in Miami, Florida, and one also in Jakarta, Indonesia, and they verified them to go back that far. Now, it's called Gunung Padang, and this particular, let's get the actual full meaning of it. It's here, I put it down someplace. But it's located in the Karya Mukti village in Kan sub-district of Cianjur district, West Java, Indonesia, or Jawa Barat. That's how you say it in Indonesian. And so they've been checking and doing some excavation on this and ground penetrating radar, and they discovered there's caverns inside this pyramid mountain, which is artificial, and these caverns are like maybe 10 meters by 10 meters by 6 meters high, and a couple of them actually connect together, and there's one off to one other side too, so they're definitely there. Now they're trying to get maybe more permission and then get more work done on them so they actually can get down inside these caverns, because there may be something down in there that might be of some interest. One thing we also was able to find, and I can't show you the picture so easily here, but we've also found some ancient weapons that have unusual properties, right, that are also there too in Indonesia.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Frank, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, and I want to get more into the great evidence that you have noticed about this. We are talking with Frank Joseph Hoff. You could go to his website, atlan.org, to learn more about Atlantis, and I'm telling you, this is a great topic for many of us to learn on, because I think a lot of us want to believe that Atlantis was real, and I think it was. And people like Frank believe it was too. So we're going to learn more in hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Frank, we have about, let's see here, just over 6 minutes here. And so what I'm going to do is take a quick break. I'm going to put you in the green room, and I'll see you in a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right. The rest of you, we are in the process of building commercials in between the time here. So unfortunately, you have to get to stare at the logo for a while. And I'll move the chair over so you can have a look at what we've done here, see what you can notice. It's a little bit of fun. I'll be right back. Right. I am back. And what is this? T-Bone, my man. You didn't have to go that heavy. Thank you. God bless you, T-Bone. Thank you. Thank you very much for the love, my man. Wow. Didn't expect that. Didn't expect that. Is the lighting off? To help with the lights? Appreciate you, buddy. I think I get you. Cool Arrow, how you doing? Let's see here. Who else has joined us here? Appreciate you all. Thank you very much. We're having a great turnout tonight. It's good to see so many familiar faces. I hope you like the new background. You know, we got some dirty filth art here. I put up some gnomes, the alien candle, head candles, little Bigfoot right there, little alien guy. Looks nice and good. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Mennonite, Abe, Walter, Jeffrey, Pam Harris, Kitty Caddywhack, and of course, Area 54 for joining our membership on our YouTube channel. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. And here we go. It is time for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Saxatile. Saxatile is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, let us bring in our guest tonight, Frank Joseph Hoff. We are talking about what happened to Atlantis, the lost continent. Did it exist? Was it here? Where was it? We are learning all of this tonight. If you've missed some of those questions, you will have to catch the podcast on any major podcast network or on YouTube. Because, well, it's free. Why not check it on out? And, of course, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Frank Joseph Hoff is here for hour 2. We're learning about the lost continent of Atlantis. It is an amazing conversation. This gentleman is a brainiac when it comes to this subject, and we appreciate him sharing his knowledge here on Spaced Out Radio. Frank, welcome back.
Oh, glad to be back.
When we look at Atlantis, how do we know what society was like there?
Okay. Before I answer that, I want to go back to the evidence you want. Atlantis. Remember you asking about that question?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I mentioned about the Gunung Padang Pyramid Mountain, which, by the way, has a larger mass than the Giza Plateau or Khufu Pyramid. And Gunung Padang means the enlightened kingdom, mountain place of our great ancestors. That's what it means. Gunung Padang. Gunung Padang. And then you also asked about the evidence besides Gunung Padang, which has caverns inside connected together. But they've also found bones which are listed on our website of stegodons. And not only once, but several times in the Bandung Museum. The Bandung Museum has these almost a fully constructed stegodon there, and we have a photo of it on our website, so you can see that. So that's another one, because this is something Atlantis is famous for. Also, this one here is going to be maybe not so much, I don't know what you call it, evidence, but this is it's something that points to where the location, the true location of Atlantis is, and that has to do with the cross of Atlantis, and it has to do which cross of Atlantis is located in our book on page 103, and this denotes the capital city of Atlantis, which, by the way, the capital city was known as of Atlantis was known as Atlantis as well, but also known for called Poseidonus, for the founder of Atlantis, Poseidon. If you see this particular cross of Atlantis, it has a shaft, but also there's concentric circles and concentric rings. It also has a simple form too, mentioned too, called a cross circle, which is a circle with a cross in it. And this cross also notes the location of Atlantis by the latitude and longitude. Today, and where it could be feasible to have a location in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age, it can support over 25 million people, when there's probably only 10 million people on the Earth at the time. Was the latitude at 0 degrees latitude, which is still today the same case. It goes over the Sumatra area, over the area going into Borneo and so on. The island of Borneo, which, by the way, is the third largest island in the world, bigger than UK, and Indonesia has Papua island too, which is large, and also you have Greenland, of course. But having said that, the longitude, which is a meridian, is called Greenwich Mean Time. It's not in London, but in Greenwich, England, because that's where between one of the most powerful navies in the world at one time, and also because of convention, they wanted the time to pretty much like start there. So they had they make that 0 degrees longitude or meridian, but that's not always where it used to be. Before that, because a lot of people say, well, it's always been there. No, it hasn't. It was over Paris, France at one time. And before that, it went over the Canary Islands, because they thought Canary Islands was Atlantis. Before that, maybe someplace else. But originally, the location of Atlantis was at 0 degrees latitude, 0 degrees longitude. X marks the spot, and the latitude's still there today, because it had to be in a place where it could support that many people in the middle of the Pleistocene Ice Age, which is on the latitude of the equator. And by the way, when they had to flee out of that area because of the Krakatoa volcano, guess where they went? Places that, because it's still, the Pleistocene Ice Age is still ending maybe over 1,000 years. They had to go down to Peru and Ecuador, which is, that's where the name Ecuador gets the name from, the equator. And so they had to get to a place where they could feasibly live. But originally it was at 0 degrees latitude, 0 degrees longitude. And you can see that in our book. But that's why they call it Greenwich Mean Time today. It should be almost Atlantean time. By the way, the international date line is still over that way. If you check a map, you'll see it's still there.
For sure.
That hasn't changed. So that's pretty much X marks the spot for this location, this piece of more or less evidence alone. But again, it hasn't always been in Greenwich, England. But these things changed because of convention, and also because they had the most powerful navy in the world at one time. And they wanted that navigation, build it for navigation reasons and security and military reasons.
the people. Do we know what what society was like there? Was it a democracy? Was it authoritarian? Was it monarchy?
It had to do with kingdoms. It had to do with Poseidon and his sons, which were a lot of twin sons. Atlas and Hercules is a couple of them. But they ran their own kingdoms that were sourced out to them. But it started off good, and then a little corruption came along the way and kind of messed things up. But they were doing fine up to that point. But then they also started having these things got out of control because inhabitants they didn't abide by the rules and regulations that were set up, and so that kind of things kind of broke down over time.
This may sound like a silly question, and I don't mean it this way. I actually mean it with all seriousness. Would Atlantis have been around during times of certain dinosaurs?
Probably not, but it's hard to say because that goes back 65 million years ago into the Jurassic period. I'm not sure. That's kind of a speculation but it could be. It could be go back to millions of years. All I know is when it goes back hundreds of thousands, maybe a million years, but maybe not 65 million. Something like that.
Right. Gotcha.
So
I got a bunch of audience questions here for you tonight, Frank. I'd like to get the audience involved here. So let's start off with Mr. Super Crazy, who is asking, does Atlantis have any connection to ETs, UFOs, or cryptid type monsters?
The stegodon elephants, yeah. I don't know if you call it a monster or not. That they did have that. The Vivanas, the flying machines, as far as that goes, and Vihanas, the Land Rovers and all this kind of stuff. They had this kind of technology. As far as monsters go, I don't know about that. Couldn't say. I don't want to say things that I don't.
No. I don't think the question was asked just out of ridiculous or anything like that. But I think what a lot of people are wondering is, because there is so much mystique around it, and whether or not it was a different time. Like if you look at the Greek gods, where they have all sorts of weird, strange creatures that were around at that time.
Okay.
I mean, that's I guess where the question would have been.
Okay, well, maybe I misunderstood a little bit. There's the woolly mammoths and also stegodons as well as mastodons and that sort of thing, but a lot of and saber-toothed tigers, and these got wiped out because of the Krakatoa volcano ending the Pleistocene Ice Age and caused all these problems, So and so wiped out, in fact, almost wiped out the human civilization too. But we lost 70% of the mammals on Earth at the time, so there was all sorts of animals. So maybe that's in a sense that kind of class,
Right. Absolutely. Is there any biblical reference to Atlantis?
Yeah, the Great Flood, Universal Flood, all that kind of thing. With the Noah's Ark and all these kind of things. They're all symbolic of this, time of the Great Deluge and the Universal Flood. The deluge which preceded, and then Universal Flood later on, rising the sea levels not only in that area, which is a very shallow area, but also around the world, which other parts of the world weren't as shallow as that, but the sea levels rose universally around the world as well. But they had to get out because look at 2/3 of Atlantis right now. Indonesia is underneath the water, 2/3 of it. On our website, it's not just us speculating this, but there's a NOAA Space Spy satellite photo showing on an infrared that 2/3 of it's underneath the ocean today. And the front cover of our book shows the thing from mathematic data that Professor Sanson's worked out, and with and they fit like a glove. But the one on the NOAA space satellite is more exact because it's a snapshot of the actual Earth itself without going into any particular data, but it's very precise.
Many people believe that there is, I don't know whether it's myth or just want that Atlantis was a very, very technologically advanced society. Maybe they had cars, maybe they had flying ships, like spacecraft or airplanes or whatever you want to say. How do we know that this was part of it, or is that just part of the mythos?
Well, it's in a lot of the Hindu texts, and so the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and other, Vedic texts that mention these kind of things. And sometimes there are in other types of texts you run across too, and other information. You can kind of cross-check it. We know that they mastered navigation, naval commerce, invented metallurgy, stone dressing, and excelled in arts and offices of all sorts, and dance, theater, and music. This is all the kind of things they did. They also invented language too, and writing of language and things. Dravida is just one, but they also culture was invented in Indonesia, and it's not the other way around. It's not culture came to to Atlantis, Indonesia, but it spread out from Atlantis, Indonesia to other parts of society of the world from there, because that's where it was invented. Also, another thing that was invented there was, you'll be surprised, is gunpowder in Atlantis through alchemy. Not the Chinese. The Chinese adopted it from the Atlanteans, but it wasn't Chinese invented gunpowder. It was the Atlanteans that did.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a crazy thing.
No kidding. No kidding. All right, let's go to another question here from our audience. And let's go to T-Bone here, who's in British Columbia as well. He's asking, do you think Atlantis was alien?
Could be. It's kind of speculation as far as they come from another planet. That's what you're basically asking there, is did it come from another planet? Yeah, it could have been from a Mars-type planet. You just don't know. This goes back. I mean, it's hard to trace things back going 10,000 years, let alone go back hundreds of thousands or a million years,
Right.
Sometimes it takes a while for a planet to, die off for certain reasons, A lot of this has to do with global warming or hot house effect, that sort of thing can cause these things like Venus and so on, and maybe Mercury. I don't know, maybe mostly Venus. But this can happen.
Right.
Atlantis is our soul or spirit, the soul of the world, and the city of Bali, the little island of Bali is known as the navel, like belly button of the world.
Let's go to another question here. Let's head on over to Jules here. Were the concentric rings of Atlantis natural or manufactured?
They were manufactured because they control, erosion and in the shipping lanes, the canals, to get the great ships into port. And that area they had to go through to get in, at least one of the ways was through the Lombok Strait, down the Wallace Line between the islands of Lombok and Bali. So that's what they had to do to get into, because you had to also be deep enough to get the big ships into port, and also, you have what they call the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal. We also have the government locks, Hiram Chittenden locks in the Ballard area of Seattle here. We raised the water levels up and down from Lake Washington out into Puget Sound. All this has to do with this, and also controlling of erosion. Even the terracing of rice fields and so on, all control that. And the same with Machu Picchu too. This is Atlantean technology in Machu Picchu. So they control the water flow for use in the household and also for planting of crops, irrigation. In Bali, even today, like in parts of Indonesia, there's using terracing methods to control the flow of water and so on, irrigation. By the way, rice was invented originally out of Indonesia, Atlantis, Indonesia, about 25,000 years ago or more. And in Drabi, the word for rice is arisi, A-R-I-C-I. And the word for cereal is sarisi, S-I-R-I-C-I. And so this is a few things that, I picked up along the way, but it might be of interest. Also, I was going to mention too, the name of Egypt proper is derived from Egyptian, Hek, and Hekapatah. And Hek means the house or abode. Abode means like a house or home. And the second meaning, Ka, means the second house or abode. Hekapatah. And it's a great god who personifies the Egyptian Pedama, the soul. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that Hekapatah means that Egypt is the second homeland, not the first of Egypt. It's not the first homeland. Egypt's not the first homeland, but Atlantis was actually the original homeland of the Egyptians, of people that came into Egypt, because they had to migrate out of there to different areas. They had to go northward and westward into India when things collapsed, also up into Mesopotamia, Iraq, Samaria, over to Turkey, and so on up to Egypt. And so the word Hekapatah means that the actual original homeland of Egypt is Atlantis, because it's the first homeland, and Hekapatah is actually the second, means the second homeland of the Paiduma.
All right,
So
let's go to another question. We have 2 minutes to go.
Kind of complicated. It's kind of complicated, but
yeah,
we're able to figure that one out too.
Well, we got 2 minutes. Let's go to another question here. Let's go to Joe here. Is it true that North America is considered the new Atlantis?
No. It's if anything you have in different parts of the world are remnants or colonies or outposts, because they're a great trading nation. And so you might have these places that are located in a place called the Caribbean or the Mediterranean or different places. But I mean, most of these are just not, they're outposts or remnants at best. They're not the original real location. They're trading outposts and things like that. So no, it's not. You have different, look at, maybe I should answer the question this way too. When Columbus came to America, he noticed that he was looking for the East Indies.
Yes.
By the way, not the West Indies, the East Indies. And he ran into the Americas. And so he saw the natives here, and they named the Indians, and the name stuck, even though Indians are really from India or Indonesia, India mainly. But and the name stuck, and they didn't get changed to its misappropriate name. And so this adds a lot of confusion of things.
Right. I'm going to
So
get you to hold on right there, Frank, because it's hard to believe we're already at another break. We only have Frank for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We will continue with audience questions and more with Frank Joseph Hoff on Atlantis on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Well, I guess we got 20 seconds left. I mistimed it, Frank. I mistimed it here. So
quickly, the Native Americans, the Indians, so-called Indians, or Native Americans here, are actually from Atlantis themselves. They derive their ancient ancestors from Atlantis,
beautiful.
and that's why they have the word teepee. Is like a symbolic from pyramids.
There we go. Hold on right there, Frank.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right. We got 5 minutes to go here, Frank. And hi, Bobbert. How you doing? Jeremy Jones. How you doing? Vanessa. Nice to see you. Eva. Nice to have you back. And who else has showed up here? Marie K. Nice to have you here. Radio Wendigo. Thanks for coming on in again. Excuse me. Cool part about it is I now have a cough button. Like, I don't have like two different sections that I have to do. I can just hit one button now. But now you can hear me. Now you can hear me. Human Carl is here, everybody. Let's give a tip of the hat to Human Carl. We love you around here. Great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love our Human Carl. Thank you. Frank, you having fun?
They're doing okay. Just see what else I wanted to tell everybody.
All right. What do you want to get into next?
Well, let's see. Where do we leave off? I was trying to get off, and I heard what it was saying about these teepees, that Indians have here, Native Americans. Yes. They were symbolized the Krakatoa volcano, the holy mountain of paradise.
Oh, wow.
Their ancestors took that with them. I should get into that about the holy mountain of paradise. That's what I really should do.
Okay. We could continue on with that when we get back.
Yeah, the Hek-Kab-Ptah Egyptian means that Egypt is the second homeland of Egypt, not the first, and the first one is located in Atlantis, Indonesia. And that's where they came from. Their ancient ancestors are from there. That's their soul. It's a Pedama. The Pedama is their soul. And Hek-Kab-Ptah, great god who personifies the Egyptian Pedama. So
love it.
Yeah, I know I wasn't maybe as clear about that particular part, but we could talk about. I'll make a note about this about the Holy Mountain of Paradise.
We got about a minute 30, Frank. It's looking good. Erica Stover, how are you? Agreed, Jeffrey Green. Don't know where Alien Carl is.
Oh, I got a question for you, Dave.
Sure.
Can I get a copy of the broadcast?
Of course you can. They're all free. Absolutely. We got 30 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Jeffrey, Mennonite Abe, Walter, Pam, and Kitty Caddywhack for the wonderful super chats. We really appreciate your love and support of SOR. So thank you very, very much. And Destiny Rocks, how are you? Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Here we go with the next half hour. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now kicking off. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We are going to get to our guest, Frank Joseph Hoff, here momentarily as we continue the Atlantis conversation. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go from Atlan.org. There we go. My eyes are not working. No, you know what sucks about getting old is your eyes literally start to blend everything together. Small print does that for me now. I can't stand it. Atlan.org. Frank Joseph Hoff is here. We're talking Atlantis. And right before the break, you were asked a question about, or talking about American Indians where the teepees have a significance. And you wanted to continue that.
Yeah, the teepees from our Native Americans is actually from their ancient ancestors of Atlantis, from the holy mountain of Paradise, or the Krakatoa volcano, which is Mount Sumeru, and also it's Toba, Mount Kumeru. And so Meru means the holy mountain. And so they, in order to take a part of their homeland with them after the destruction of it, that's why you have pyramids in and around the world, in Egypt, South America, and North America, these different mounds and so on. All around the world, there's different types of pyramids, including probably the one in Indonesia, which is Gunung Padang. Also, there's Chinese pyramids too, people may not be aware of as well. So teepees are how they made their home, and symbolic to the holy mountain of Paradise, the Krakatoa volcano, or Krakatau, however you want to say it. So that's one of the things I wanted to mention. Also, our book, Atlantis, The Lost Continent Finally Found, is the name of our book. It was also the subtitle, The Definitive Localization of Plato or Plato's Lost Civilization. So it's going to be found on Amazon.com. There's a link to it on our website. It's Penguin Random House. You can find it under there. And also under North Atlantic Books. And also our website, as you mentioned, is atlan.org, first 5 letters of Atlantis.org, or it also goes to the same place, which is www.atlantispublications.com. Publications is plural. I wanted to go back also and mention about some of these inventions and things that the Atlanteans had, because you were asking about that. I may have not filled it all in. Atlantis is directly or indirectly for most of our sciences and technology. The irrigation, agriculture, the metallurgy, animal domestication, cattle herding, stone dressing, astronomy, music, religion, philosophy, the alphabet, the weaving of fibers such as silk and cotton, and I mentioned gunpowder, paper, the magnetic compass, gemstone cutting, and so forth. Even the language itself it came from there. Additionally, It's also known as the land of spices and perfumes, the Moluccas. It's known as also Punt in Egyptian, as paradise lost. There's no other than Atlantis, Indonesia. Also, they're into metals, gemstones. Horses came from that area too. Horses were not native to America. They came out of Atlantis and Southeast Asia. Elephants, I mentioned, coconuts, pineapples, perfumes, incense, aromatic and useful woods, and other such things, exclusively from India and Indonesia. So they had a lot of these metals and things, the copper, zinc, tin, they can make weapons out of too. They're used in wars and battles. So I hope that answers some of your question from before.
Very much so. Thank you very much for that. All right, let's go over to, let's say, Joe here, who is asking, did the old gods create us to be their servants? Are they coming back?
The religion was invented out of there, and then other religions kind of came from there too. But they had time to think about something like religion, at least, because they weren't just hunter-gatherers all day long. They actually did that animal domestication and farming, agriculture, so they could get into all these other things. And so, whether they, I think there was more like Atlanteans gods, before we came down to maybe one god or two gods or something like that. But I think they prayed to maybe several different types of gods, is what my understanding was. But that may have changed over time, as you know. So it depends on the particular religion you might be involved in or whatever. Like I say, I'm not trying to promote one thing over the other. I'm merely just trying to get the truth out from a historic and scientific standpoint.
All right, let's get to another question here. Let's go to Super Crazy here, who is asking, what can you tell us about the technology of Atlantis at its peak? Was it more advanced than our current technology?
According to Professor Sansels, it was more advanced. They began advanced for a period of over 60,000 years. They had flying machines that could even take could fit an entire park or landscape, or on board some of these vessels. They could actually put an entire environment up on a vessel, so they have, like you go to a park down here on the Earth, but they actually could put them up on their vehicles, on their the manas, and so on. But yeah, they could get from one place to the next and using those vehicles. But all this is kind of deteriorated now over time. A lot of the things got destroyed, but yeah, they had this advanced technology. The metallurgy, for doing metallurgy was invented there, which helped out our society here and over time.
Do you think they had simple things like watches or timepieces? Was time invented at that point?
I'm not sure why I got so much on the time, but I think they did do something on that, because they also did something with the magnetic compass, they for navigation purposes. But I haven't come across the exact time, but they probably did something with that too. I just don't know precisely on that phrase. So I just don't want to speculate too much on that. They also did, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but they also did dance, theater, and music. Yeah, I think I did mention that. A lot of things came out of there. Some of these things feel like they're simple things, but at the time, they're actually kind of complex inventions.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to take a lot of thinking to do it, and philosophy and sciences and skill and engineering and so on. Even to control the erosion of, you got these retaining walls. The retaining walls is Atlantean technology. Control water and erosion.
Right. And you see, that's kind of one of the things that kind of confuses me a little bit, because we sit there, through history, as you've said, in written text, that they did have the capability of flight and communication and everything. And I don't know. Maybe it's just the 2025 human in me wondering whether or not they had Taco Bell and microwaves, or if they had like music concerts outside of a symphony. Did they have techno? Did they have country or rock and roll? I mean, impossible questions to answer, but I'm fascinated by it.
Well, they did music. We know that. They also did weaving of fibers, such as silk and cotton. I mentioned that they invented gunpowder and also paper. They did the paper technique. You know how you have to do that. That was quite a process they had to invent. The magnetic compass, they're big on navigation. They knew about all the stars and the planets and everything, the way they lined up, so they could navigate. They knew all about that. But that's pretty much what I can tell you. They also controlled the canal networks, and controlled torrent rivers, vast forests, and fauna and flora, and gold and silver, tin, copper, and zinc, and all these precious gemstones and metals and things.
Mm-hmm.
So they used them in battles and wars, all these weapons too, to fight. But you have to use this copper and tin to make all these weapons. There's bronze and brass and zinc, any way to make bronze or brass. And then also they line their walls with that too. They line their walls, and they had a lot of these gemstones, but they were very wealthy, and that's one of the things too. I wanted to mention they wanted to keep this place secret. It's not that there's a big conspiracy or something like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that kind of thing. It's like they didn't want to. Later on, after they, Atlantis got destroyed, they didn't want people to come there and pillage and plunder the place. So they had to keep they call it profane, people that are kind of ignorant about the situation, from actually knowing where the whereabouts is. But Columbus was kind of onto it, but he stumbled into the Americas. But this is why they kept it secret. There's many different names for Atlantis too, by the way. One is Amenti, one is called Punt by the Egyptians, El Dorado, the golden one, the golden Simpongo, another one. I'm trying to think of a list of this. Maybe I can catch it. We have another break coming up. I'll grab a list of.
Well, top of the hour, we were going to wrap it up here.
Okay. Well, maybe I can find a list of all the different names here. There's a whole pile of different names. Trapavani, Trapabana. Trapabana is another one. There's this. You see all these different names, and they're related to Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
It's by more than one name. It says that Atlantis is a Greek name.
Right. All right. Let's go to another question here. Let's go over to, let's see here. Let's go to Joe or Fast Hemi here. Is the Krakatoa volcano about to blow again, in your opinion?
That's really kind of a hard one to say. It has gone off a little bit after that. It went off in 1883, but they call it Anak, which means child or child of Krakatoa, or son of Krakatoa, called Anak. And so it's possible it could go off, but it kind of collapsed. It used to be, and maybe still is a caldera volcano. And a caldera volcano is a super volcano. It's not like the one in Mount St. Helens here, where we had to go off in May 18th, 1980. But it's like there's one in Yellowstone there, whereas that went off. That would take out probably something like a quarter of the country here, and maybe into Canada too. Hate to say that, but these are super volcanoes, and they're very powerful, and they go off seismic activity and pressure and so on. But after a while, they may build up again, magna, and and pressure and go off again. So it's hard to say when they could go off. Although sometimes it's a period of like tens of thousands of years before they go off, which I kind of hope is not the case in our lifetime. Another name for Greek name for Atlantis is the Elysian fields, which is probably refers to the rice fields of reeds, sucker arrow. There's just a whole number of different types of names for Atlantis, but that's just some of them.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one coming from, let's go to T-Bone here. What was the fall of Atlantis in your opinion?
The fall of Atlantis?
Yes.
How it got destroyed?
Yes.
I think it had to do a lot with the Dravidas and the Arya Semites having a fight. The Dravidas were kind of the dark-skinned people, and the lighter skin were more the Arya Semites. But they had a war, and they're in the most volcanically active area of the entire world, probably the Ring of Fires is right there. And so they had a holy mountain of paradise, which they pretty much like worshipped. And somebody tried to, like I say, get one up on the other side. So they decided to play around with it, more or less, and drop a atom bomb down there, a nuclear bomb down the Krakatoa volcano. And they didn't think it was going to go off as much as it would, but just so they get an upper hand. But it went off because of a chain reaction. As you know, in nuclear physics, you have a chain reaction type of situation. It goes on. And it went off a lot more than they thought it was going to go off. And so it just about wiped out the whole planet. It's almost had a life extinction event going on. When 70% of mammals got wiped out, but also we lost 20 million people in a day and a night, which is the highest amount of people we've lost in the shortest amount of time in the history of the world, even going back to primordial times, deep in antiquity. So you got the highest percentage in the least amount of time it went off in a day and a night, and killed over 20 million people between getting burned by the explosion of the Krakatoa volcano, the Holy Mountain of Paradise, and also getting drowned by the tsunami coming up. So they had to escape out of there the best they could, and they went northward and westward up to India and parts of Europe and so on, Turkey, and then also down because of navigation and the equatorial currents took them down to Peru and Ecuador, where this Pleistocene ice age was still ending. They had to go to a tropical area again, just on the equator, where they could live. So they had to go to certain places where they could still live. Some of them had to be close to the equator, even north or south.
Let us move on to another question here. This one coming from Marie, who is asking, were Atlanteans space travelers, in your opinion? Like you said, they could fly, but were they heading off into space?
Don't know about that part. We just have it domestically here, tradition, and just on Earth, terrestrial here. I don't know about going off the other planets and spaceships and UFOs and all this kind of thing. Professor,
the interesting part about that is astrophysicist Dr. John Brandenburg. He actually believes that what you were saying about Atlantis being destroyed by a nuclear explosion. He believes there is remnants of radiation stains on Mars that lead to the same type of conclusion, and that it had wiped out its planetary origin as well.
Well, that's very interesting. Just didn't want to speculate on something I didn't really know or connect to, but yeah, it's possible, I guess. If they, that would have to be checked with the nuclear signature, how far that goes back. If it didn't have life daughter products, of that nuclear signature, if it can extend back that far.
Yeah, he believed it was about 1 million years ago.
Well, maybe one of these Mars, is it Mars he has mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe when the Mars rovers, lander rovers can pick up something like that in their analysis, and when they do a soil check or something like that, or whatever in that area, and pick it up. Is that what they've done so far? And then they tracked it back to 1,000,000 years, or what?
Yeah, they've just been able to see through the rovers, certain types of information that, that they could calculate that looks, of course, it's all hypothetical, but that they believe that it was, just what they're seeing, that there does seem to be some sort of nuclear holocaust there at one point.
Well, yeah, it's still hypothetical. I'd like to see it where it could actually link back to Earth.
For
You
sure.
have to be able to do that, and the technology link back here. So if it gets linked back here, chances are it probably was Lemurian Atlantis. Lemuria.
All right, we got 4 minutes to go. Frank Joseph Hoff is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Jaquetta here, who is asking, can the Atlanteans also be considered the Watchers from the Book of Enoch, because the Watchers have been credited as teaching man?
I think this has to go to the great civilizers. I mean, there's many fallen angels and civilizers, because when they had to flee out of the area of their homeland, which was destroyed pretty much, most of, especially after Lemuria was mostly destroyed, but they were rebuilt. But Atlantis, properly advanced civilization, they had to flee out of that area, and they had to go to areas where they're either welcome or not welcome so much, or just, I mean, they had to be nice to people, other inhabitants, because they were kind of beaten down, and they had really few places to go, at least originally. And so they imparted a lot of their knowledge and information to help out whatever culture or society they went to live in. And they also made it with the native populations too. Now this took place over time, so some of the original Atlanteans had to pass on some information, and then maybe they passed away after 100 or 200 years or something, so another generation's coming up. So it took a while to disseminate all this around the world, but they did. I mean, this is where the source comes from. But and some of them are better at making pyramids and holy mountains, replicas or something like that than others. Everybody had different types of knowledge and stuff, but they had to pass a lot of it along, and so they actually helped a lot of the native populations around the world advance. And I think that's maybe the answer to the question. I hope I'm answering the right question.
I think that was pretty good. I will say this. 2 minutes to go here. What do you think is the most important lesson that Atlantis gives us in today's 2025?
Okay. I wanted to get something here. I kind of temporarily misplaced it here. I definitely wanted to answer that question. The main thing is about humanity. Let me see if I got this paper, because that's what I really want to get off. This may take a second or so. I was looking for other things, and I may have misplaced it here. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Just because we are running out of time, just your quick thoughts, 30 seconds.
Well, it's about humanity, about, how we treat each other. We have to be a little bit nicer to one another, and so these things don't happen, and cause us to have an extinction of the whole civilization, I'm sorry, if I could find this.
That's okay. Where can people find your work, Frank?
It's on our website at www.atlan.org, or atlantispublications.com. It's on one of those. That goes to our website. Or also on our book, Atlantis, the Lost Continent Finally Found, by Professor Mauricio Santos.
Yeah, your work is absolutely amazing. And Frank, I want to say a big thank you for you coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It was an absolute pleasure to get an educational lesson, on this subject. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you and all your listeners for tuning in.
Appreciate that. Coming up next in hour number 3, because I am a rookie after 3 weeks off again, apparently I forgot to record Swamp Dweller. So we're not going to do Swamp Dweller. We are going to go straight to Josh Rutledge, who is filling in for little Timmy James on the UFO report tonight. This is Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you very much, Frank. Greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, I found that paper. It's just the last here.
That's all right. My man, we will do this again. I promise you.
Yeah, did you want to hear this part? I can read this.
I do have to run right now, my friend.
Yeah.
I apologize. But
Okay.
when we bring you on again to talk about this, I'd love to.
No problem. It's called the what is the importance of Atlantis for mankind? I think that's the question you're asking.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
you.
right. Where do I get the file from? The recording?
You can grab it off of after about 12:30 tonight. You could grab it on any major podcast network.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look around. All right.
All right, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You take care,
Thanks.
okay?
Thanks for the interview. Bye-bye.
Take care. Good night. Frank Joseph Hoff, everybody. I like him. Guy is smart. Very smart. We'll be right back. All right, let's bring in Josh and say hello. Get you to unmute your mic there. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, man.
Right on. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's been a while, way too
It's
long.
been a hot minute for sure.
You've been doing well?
Yeah, I'm actually presenting here at Phoenix MUFON in a couple weeks, so I'm just wrapping up my
Nice.
presentation slides and making sure that everything buttoned up. So yeah,
Is that for MUFON Tucson?
MUFON Phoenix.
Oh, really? That'd be
Yeah.
cool. That'd be very cool. Good for you. Give me 2 seconds here. T-Bone times 2, Jeffrey, Pam, Kitty Caddywhack, Walter, and Mennonite Abe. Thank you very much for the super chats. Thank you to Wes Decker, Area 54, for the membership again. And thank you very much for your love and support of this show. Thank you, guys. It's been absolutely amazing. And it's so good to be back. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Here we go. All right, here we go with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got the UFO report. Josh Rutledge filling in for little Timmy James tonight, who is ailing, but he'll be back very, very soon, I promise you. Hey, I want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Saxatile. Saxatile is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to the UFO report.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Timber! You have made me very angry indeed.
All right, filling in for Timmy tonight is Josh Rutledge from Mystic Journeys on YouTube. He is part of MUFON. He is a great lover of the UFO subject, and we bring him in here to fill on in. Josh, thank you so much for being here tonight. We greatly appreciate you taking the time.
Oh man, I appreciate it. I love every single time I get the invite. We always have, even in the short time for the UFO report, we have some great conversations, really get into some, great engagement of information and knowledge. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, one thing I love about you, Josh, is not only are you a class act, number one, and I had the appreciation of meeting you at our little Vegas get together earlier this year, you and the Beard of Knowledge, Shane Hurd.
Yep.
But I mean, just the idea that you have such a passion for this subject. For people who may not be familiar with you, why do you love this subject of UFOs so much?
Wow. I mean, I've had my own experiences that, I'm still kind of searching for, let's say, knowledge or answers for. But really what I guess causes me to still look into it every single day is to look at it not as individual phenomenon, like the paranormal and UFOs and Sasquatch as all being these disconnected segments, but to really look at it as being one big phenomena and thinking about it and how each piece relates to the other. And like one of the things that I love to do is find the pattern. And so it's like one of the things my mind does is find the pattern. And so, I hear about it. Like I was doing investigation about the Enfield poltergeist in 1971. Turns out there was a big UFO flap in England at the same time. And there was a ferry reporting at the same time. So like it just makes me wonder if like any of this stuff is connected in some way.
Makes me wonder as well. And thank you for doing everything that you do in order to bring the news out. One of the subjects that has really caught my attention lately, I don't know if you've seen these videos, but this guy, I believe in Panama, caught a meteor on camera, and then he went and picked it up. He picked up the meteor, and now apparently it is growing and it is turning into some alien life. I don't know if this is AI or if this is something that is true. I am leaning more towards AI because realistically, the guy is touching it with his bare hand, and something along those lines, I think you would not want to touch it in case of the radiation or whatever. Have
Yeah.
you seen these videos?
I have not seen the video, but I quickly Googled just now to see what it was. And yeah, I mean, the thing about, space rocks is that they're not all radioactive. Most of them are just made up of iron, and that's why they're so dense. But the idea that it would burn through the atmosphere, I guess, and that would reignite the growth, process that, any bacterial life that was trapped inside the meteor really is almost like it harkened back to the movie Evolution with David Duchovny and Orlando Jones. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that movie or not, but that's basically what happens. This meteorite crashes into the Arizona desert, goes into a cave system, and it starts basically the burn up of the meteorite entering the atmosphere is what reignites the life in this been trapped in this meteor. So it's just, maybe, I mean, I guess it's possible if there was bacterial life frozen in this thing tumbling through space, fire could have reignited it. I don't know.
See, the big thing for me is that number one, in the videos, the meteorite or alleged meteorite sure looks like a spray painted potato, a silver spray painted potato. And then apparently it has this organism that, what's that superhero character that, he goes in all the black stuff. Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man. I can't.
Oh, Venom? You know about Venom?
Venom, yeah.
Okay.
It literally looks like Venom. Okay. And it seems to be growing and moving and everything. So the guy has been doing all of these little videos on how it started to move. And then you see him touch it with his bare hands. I mean, look, I agree with you with meteorite. I mean, most of it are from compounds you can find and minerals you can find on this planet. But I mean, if it's got some sort of alien life form on it, I'm really surprised that here he is touching it with his bare hand and that he is, moving it around and playing with it like it's a little toy. Number one, and I believe it is a hoax. I really do believe it's a big hoax. But number one, I mean, if that did have some sort of alien life form on it, the scientists in the military would be all over that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. The other thing that I've seen a lot of going around on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff is people claiming big scientific breakthroughs when in all actuality, like I saw this one where this woman supposedly takes 2 9-volt batteries and puts them to a glass, and an egg hovers in the middle of the glass. Well, all it is they're running it backwards. So that also makes me wonder if like he's messing with this stuff and then he's flipping the video to where it looks like it's moving on its own, when in all actuality, he just got done crinkling it up and it's just spreading back out. I don't know. I mean, you're right though. I feel like if there was a legitimate chance that it was real alien life, somebody, Men in Black or otherwise, would have showed up at his door already.
Oh, 100%.
And also, I mean, if it is real alien life, I mean, has the guy never seen the movie Life with, was it Jake Gyllenhaal, where they get that alien organism in space and it basically kills them all in an effort to get back to Earth? Hopefully I don't ruin that movie for anybody, but yeah, I mean, there's enough movies out there that says, hey, don't mess with liquid goo from the stars.
Right. I would totally agree with you on that. Totally agree with you. What do you got for us? I mean, it's been a hectic couple weeks in the UFO world. We had the hearings, which we played live on our YouTube channel. Thank you to our after hours host, Rob G, for doing that. I mean, this is my first chance to catch up on that. What was your thoughts of the hearings?
You know, I my own personal thoughts is I thought it was good. I don't know that it necessarily, moved the ball or puck, to make a hockey reference, that far on the field of play, if you will. But I thought we had, really good information from continue to get, military experiencers talking about their experiences. I like that we had, for the first time, an actual active duty individual on the panel. I'm not really sure, other than George Knapp has a huge breadth of knowledge on the topic. I'm not really sure why George Knapp was on the panel, but they seemed more interested in how he got those Russian documents out of Russia, more so than his actual knowledge about anything having to do with the UFO topic. So I think I was, just like I've talked about here on the show, in my opinion, the hearings are just, they're a way to keep public engagement, active, to keep us continuing to push for more information. It's a massive chess game, and we, the community, the public, are one of the pieces on the board. And having these hearings is a way to keep it in the public eye, in our 24-minute news cycle, the way it is these days. They have to do this kind of stuff to keep it on the docket, to keep it, to advance the next piece of legislation, or to get the next skiff stood up, or whatever the case may be. So I think from that regard, it needed to happen. Did we really learn anything new in this hearing that we didn't know much about before? Not really. But again, I think it was beneficial for us to have it.
I thought it was very beneficial, and no offense to Jeff Nudicelli or Alexander Wiggins and their stories. We've heard stories like that before. Okay. And I do appreciate them sharing those encounters that they have, because I think it brings a little bit more legitimacy to it, that there are current and former members who had incredible encounters. But the gentleman, Dylan Borland, really, really blew me away. Like, this is a guy, I don't know about you, man. I just wanted to give this guy a hug. That by the way he made it sound, his entire UFO, or his entire government career, was ruined by reporting a UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they hinted, they apparently, I didn't watch the video. I listened to it on my phone. I was driving one day, but apparently Grush was in the room. And at one point in time, somebody referenced that even recently, like I guess within the last couple of days, as of when the hearing was happening, new attempts were being made to discredit Grush. Now, it's interesting that we haven't heard any of that. I don't think I've seen anything else on Twitter or anything about discrediting Grush. So it must be attempts to do it in maybe security circles or something like that. But you're right. I mean, it's unfortunate that any of these guys that come forward. I mean, on the one hand, I'm very happy that we had an active duty guy be willing to be on the panel. But on the other hand, man, I just worry about all the crap and the slack that he's going to catch, when he reports for work the next day.
Well, with Dylan Borland, I mean, this guy here, like literally, he did what he was supposed to do. He literally went and filed a report with Arrow, and all hell broke loose on his career after that. I mean, this is a guy who, I mean, for all intents and purposes, he was a brainiac. He was a video analyst. He was a video intel specialist for the United States Air Force. He was an analyst for the government and other agencies. He literally came out to Arrow, told his report. Arrow said they've never heard of the guy, never got his report. At least Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick said that. I mean, how many times have we heard that where Kirkpatrick filed the story when he was in power running the operation and always seemed to play dumb on the subject. And yet here he is, well, now, I mean, he says he's got about probably 2 to 4 weeks left on his employment insurance before he's unemployed. He can't go back into government work because he's been blackballed and his security clearance has been taken away. I mean, what does a guy like this do, man?
I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that, maybe one of the what's that, the new project that got spun up with the egg guys. Skywatcher. Maybe Skywatcher has a job for him doing data analysis or video analysis. I think that's where he may not want to end up in those places, but I think that's where in the community there may be places where folks can lean in and help him, make ends meet. But I agree, it's rather ridiculous that he still had probably quite a few years of his career left, and now he's basically going to have to start over from scratch,
losing his pension as well.
Yeah,
like 27 years or 23 years he worked for the government. I mean, here's the thing with me. If these congressional hearings have any sort of weight or pull, I would expect Anna Paulina Luna or Nancy Mace or Tim Burchett or Perry or whoever else was there to literally stand up and investigate this, saying, why is this guy losing his pension? Because there's either something much more to this story that cost him this, or this secret is so deceitful behind the scenes that they just wanted to eliminate the news.
Well, I mean, there was a couple of times when I think Luna said they, would be willing to subpoena some people and even open an investigation with, I think, Arrow, as in regards to his case. That was said towards the end of the hearing.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe they will do something, but you're right. I mean, the thing that I don't like about these hearings is it seems to be every time we have a new panel with new people, the folks in Congress basically ask the same questions of the new people.
Right.
There's really no there's no indication that they've learned anything, and then learning that new knowledge has influenced the next set of questions that they want to ask. It's really just a regurgitation of the same information to a new set of people.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point that you were making. And once again, we saw new faces up on the panel. I realized that, in Anna Paulina Luna's conspiracy club there, that they are trying their best to bring attention to this. But I mean, what kind of pull do they have, though?
Yeah, they obviously have got some, like the senior. I don't know the different congressional terms, but you have the sitting member and the senior executive member, and then you got all these other folks that got to tag along, I guess. but you're right. I mean, I don't know what kind of pool they have. I mean, I guess Tim Burchett has some pool. He's seems to be a regular in all the meetings, all the hearings and things. One of the very first hearings, I think we got some other kind of longer sitting Senate folks in the sessions, but then they pretty much showed up for one session and they haven't been back since. So it does seem to feel like, I don't know, maybe it's not getting the traction or the attention that it needs in Congress. And again, it's just a, hey, we're still here, we're sticking around, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but we got nothing else to give you.
3 minutes to go here. If there was a different panel, okay, and Josh Rutledge had the chance and the opportunity to set the panel, who would you choose? Give me your top three.
Top three. Hal Puthoff. Definitely. I mean, I think Grush still has more to give. It'd be interesting to get him back since he's, kind of gone through the legal system a little bit further down the road. Maybe he's available to talk more about the things that he knows about. And then, the last one would be, interesting. I don't know. I kind of would like to see that William Bell guy. Was that his name? The guy that Corbell and Knapp interviewed?
Yes.
I think it's William Bell. I'd like to see him on the panel, under oath, getting questions about things. Because it's, when he was interviewed by Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, I mean, it was great. He said a lot of great information, but he wasn't under oath. He wasn't, there's room there for him to fudge some things. So to get him under oath and have him basically give a lot of the same key elements and have it read into the record, I think would be pretty big.
I think if I were to choose my three, I would like to see Steve Justice, the former head of or number 2 at Lockheed Martin before he joined the Stars Academy. I mean, if we're opening up the doors to Lockheed Martin, let's bring him in.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to see Robert Bigelow. I think that would be a wild card in there. I really do think that would be an amazing wild card. And for my number 3, I think I loved George Knapp on there. I know George Knapp has a lot of controversy behind him and everything like that because of his connection to Jeremy Corbell, because of his connections to many powerful people like Bigelow, like the late Harry Reid, and many others. The name Bob Lazar came up.
Yeah.
I would throw Lazar on there.
Well, that's 4.
Well, it's only 3 because I mentioned Knapp, but I mean,
okay, it wouldn't be Knapp, it'd be Lazar.
No, it wouldn't be Knapp again. But
Okay.
I would do Bigelow, Steve Justice, and Bob Lazar.
And maybe for a short little 4th, maybe we could get Brandon Fugel in there now. The current owner of Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, for sure. I was thinking about putting him on my list, but you know what? He would be an honorary mention in my category, but I think it would be a lot of fun to have that happen, and we're going to continue this chat.
Yep.
When we return, Josh Rutledge from Mystic Journeys on YouTube. He is also part of the MUFON family in the beautiful state of Arizona. He's a researcher, he's an experiencer, and he is somebody who is absolutely great for Spaced Out Radio's UFO Report, filling in for Tim James tonight.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, man, we're clear.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good list, man. Where do you want to go after this?
I mean, I've got 4 really good cases pulled up. We can get into some cases.
Sure. Let's do that. Let's do that.
One is in Tennessee, and I almost thought about reading it in a very country accent, but I don't want to offend anybody.
Not offended me, my man. Mhm. God, I just want to get into WeTransfer. Like, let's go here. All right.
Looks like you made some tech upgrades. I see the chat going on the
I
screen.
did. I totally did. Let's go like this. I bought one of those Rode Procaster 2s. And because my mixing board and everything, it was really screwing with our audio quite a bit. So I bought a Rode Procaster 2. And then as we were hooking it up, we realized that it wasn't compatible with my broadcast computer. So then I had to take another week or another few days before I could go get one. And that was because I was traveling down south to where my father lives, and I went to Best Buy there and got one. And I mean, it was time to my other one was like 7.5 years old. You know,
Wow.
So we got a good life out of that. I mean, it still runs perfectly. It really does. But you know, it has its limitations.
Yeah.
You know, and so we were able to hook that up, and we were able to get rid of one of the audio issues that we were having in a program called Voice Meter Banana.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's what was really messing with our audio. So we were able to get rid of that, and now we have the ability to run everything through the Rode, and it sounds beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And then
I used to have all the stuff all hooked up with a little mixer and everything and regular mics and all that kind of stuff, and ended up switching to just a nice USB condenser mic, plugged directly into the computer. And
well, the big thing for us is like I have this computer running where everything is right here, but this monitor right here is on the like recording the podcast and everything. So we run the Rode through to a Behringer mixer, and then that Behringer goes into the other computer.
Does the podcast get all of this, or does it only get?
Yeah, no, it gets
the radio. Okay,
the radio side does not.
Okay,
yeah. Like after the show, I'll edit. I'll edit the show into 6 segments. Excuse me, and then I'll send those segments to our radio stations. So
you got a late night then?
I get out of here about 12:30.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. Like tonight will be a little bit later because I'm a little rusty on things, but it'll be good. It shall be good. All right, we got 20 seconds left. Big shout out to Area 54 for our membership. You can join our YouTube membership right now. Kitty Caddywhack, Pam, Jeffrey, T-Bone ×2, Walter, and Mennonite Abe. Thank you for the super chats. And of course, our website has our store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. We're into our final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's the UFO report. Josh Rutledge from the YouTube channel Mystic Journeys filling in for our good friend Little Timmy James, who is ailing tonight. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have some plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, here's Josh Rutledge, who's going to bring some cases that he has been working on recently. So, Josh, thank you so much for being here, filling in for Tim. What do you got for us tonight?
Yep. So thanks again, Dave. First case comes from Jonesboro, Tennessee, and goes like this. Standing in my backyard, a bright star-like light was in the east sky with one small blinking light on the north side of the light object. It moved rapidly, laterally to the southeast and hovered, appearing to be no bigger than my thumbnail in the sky. The bright light went out and 4 blinking lights remained. Then it flew west over my house and descended at the same time to where I could see it clearly and hovered over me. I could make out its shape clearly. It made a faint, low hum, nearly silent. It had a gray, foggy light glow around the edges. All I could see was the bottom of the object. The bottom was layered gray sections like hundreds of circuit boards. In the middle of the object was a rectangle, which was much larger than the sections at the sides. The sides were shaped like 2 rectangles, left and right, like a cross shape, but somewhat rounded at the top of the middle and the bottom. A half moon foggy gray shape came from the top left in a crescent moon shape, and one on the opposite side. Both shapes were facing inward. I never saw the top sides or the object. The size was extremely large, covering my house, my neighbor's house, and our yards. It was far above the trees in that area, but close enough for me to see the shape. There was no propulsion, air, wind below it. The object hovered over my house for a minute or so, then headed west and made its ascent at the same time, then took off rapidly, disappearing into the west.
That was great. That was great. What do you make of that report?
I mean, I think it's fascinating. It reminds me of, too, that Stephen Greer talks a lot about craft that you can see, like piping and things on the bottom of them. And he says that anything you can see like that, where you can see what looks like it's been assembled, is us. Like it's, earthbound humans that created it. So, it makes me wonder if this is the same. Maybe, this guy is seeing some sort of a earthbound, human created craft. But like we've talked about before, I don't know that we have the, physics or technological understanding to create something like what was described here. I mean, it's definitely a new shape, to kind of be, there's like a picture on here, and the best way I can describe it without showing it to you is, if you remember the heat bladders, like those silicone, like bladders, you put water, like hot water in them, and you can put them down by your feet and they'll keep your feet warm when you're camping and stuff.
Yes.
That's what it kind of looks like. Or like a piece of hard candy with like the wrapper on the end. That's what it kind of looks like, the picture that he drew and submitted. I don't think I've ever seen a shape like that. The closest I think would be the shape that's described of the craft that contained Ingrid Cold in the West Virginia case in 1966, was often described as being kind of a dumbbell shape. So that's close to that shape, but maybe a little different. Whereas the dumbbells were the big objects and then the cylindrical part in the middle. This is different. This is a bigger object in the middle, and it narrows down and gets bigger again. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's just, I love it when we get these new shapes and designs of craft that people are seeing out there. It just excites me a little bit because, I mean, we could hear. I'm so sick of hearing about Tic Tacs, man. I mean, everything's a Tic Tac these days. You could throw a piece of licorice up in the sky and they'll call it.
Yeah, I mean, and what's really crazy about the Tic Tac piece is that when you actually listen to Dave Fravor's testimony, the thing is freaking huge. Like it's more elongated. In my opinion, it is the same thing that has been described for many years as the cigar shaped craft. But the best thing that Dave Fravor could come to mind with was a Tic Tac when he was describing it. Maybe he didn't smoke cigars. Maybe a Tic Tac is just long and white. It could be a Tylenol capsule for all I know. But his actual testimony is more like the cigar shaped craft, or even the airships of the 1800s.
I agree. What else you got for us there, Chief?
Yeah, I'm not going to read this one in an accent. So this one comes from the Johnstown, Colorado, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. And we've got myself and another passenger were headed southbound on I-25 at 9:57 p.m. This was on May 19th of 2025, so fairly recent. Directly in front of my vehicle, a bright oval light lit up the concrete of the highway in front of us. Looked like a police or news helicopter shining their spotlight on the ground in front of us, and the light could be seen traveling southbound down the road, traveling faster than we were at 65 miles per hour. As we looked up to the sky, expecting a helicopter, we see bright orb, shining a very bright white, traveling very fast southbound directly over the highway. The object was approximately 400 to 600 feet high in the air. After 2 seconds, a Black Hawk military helicopter appeared overhead, pursuing the white orb, but it was traveling far slower than the orb. The helicopter had a bright light in front that appeared to be a spotlight, and it had one blinking red light in its tail. After 3 to 4 seconds of both the orb and the helicopter being visible, the orb had been traveling far faster and then just vanished. It did not appear to change direction or accelerate, but the light just disappeared. The helicopter was still visible, and about 5 seconds after the orb disappeared, the helicopter veered off to the west and continued on in the southwest direction. After over 30 to 45 seconds of watching the helicopter, it seemed to reach the area in which the orb disappeared, giving us an idea of how much faster the orb was traveling than the helicopter. There were few clouds in the sky at the time, and there were planes that were visible up to 60 miles away traveling in the DIA area to give an idea of visibility. There were multiple vehicles around us, so I suspect there were multiple people who saw this unfold. This was witnessed by myself and my girlfriend heading home after dinner.
What do you think that was? Military or something alien?
What's the word nowadays? NHI?
UAP?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely a UAP. Whether or not it was, manned or unmanned or a drone or whatever, like that's the part that's always hard to say. But I think that, I've seen enough things within the last couple of years to really challenge the way I think about physical reality. And so just because a human adult couldn't fit inside of a plasmoid orb doesn't mean that some other intelligent life could. Or couldn't. So I mean, I think, I've got pictures of when I showed you a couple of days ago, a picture of a perceived alien sitting in a chair in my backyard that's kind of like half here and half not. I've got one that I caught on like a FLIR thermal camera. So I mean, it's wasn't visible to the naked eye. So it's I think challenge our conceptions around what these things are and how they interact with our reality. We can't approach the topic looking at it through the human eye or the human experience. We really have to take a step back and almost approach the topic of UAP as if we were studying some new species that we had just found, and we know nothing about them and why they do what they do.
Your next case.
This comes from Taylor Mill, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on January 31st at 2:20. January 31st of this year. A craft which looked like a plane in the distance. What caught my attention most is that there was no sound. Planes fly over our neighborhood all the time because Cincinnati Airport and Lunken Airport are both within 30 miles. I was unloading firewood from a pickup truck. It was dark. The moon had a very noticeable crescent shape to it, with only a sliver of white showing. The air was cool and crisp, not a cloud in the sky. I noticed off in the distance what appeared to be a regular aircraft, but as it got closer, I could not hear a single sound. It was bizarre, not even a slight noise. I noticed that the lights blinked green and white, not your normal green and red. It was flying slow, like an airplane normally does around here. I pulled my phone out to try to get a picture, and here's the weirdest part. It's like the aircraft hacked my phone. It would not allow me to get into my camera. My phone started going haywire, getting blurry, and it kept opening apps that were not my camera. Finally, I was able to get into my camera, but when I pointed it at the craft, all I could see on my camera was a white orb. When I tried to snap a photo, the photo came up blank. Now here I am standing here, pointing my camera at a craft I see with my eyes, and my camera would not capture it. It was very frustrating. Besides that, I had to keep fighting my phone to stay in my camera app because it kept opening random apps. I have a bachelor's degree in IT from Northern Kentucky University. I know my way around tech, phones, software, networking, databases, etc. This object was clearly messing with my phone. My phone went back to normal as soon as it went over the tree line out of sight. How did it mess with my phone with no lights around me were affected? I want to know what kind of technology could do that. There was no one else outside on my street at the time, and from the time I noticed it in the distance till I pulled out my phone was about 3 minutes, and 1 minute till I lost it over the trees. It was within, I'd say, a quarter mile at the furthest. The shape didn't look like an airplane. It was like changing shape, hard for the eye to focus on. Whatever it was, I got this overwhelming feeling of peace. Would love for someone to explain this to me. I don't drink alcohol or use drugs of any kind. It could be advanced military aircraft that's silent. It did make one odd move where it turned almost 90 degrees, something I've never seen a plane do. I can't stress enough the silence and my phone going crazy. It was so bizarre.
No way. That is weird.
And,
Totally.
I've gone out here in Arizona, close to Lake Pleasant, and sat out in the desert with nothing really around. And I see these just solid there, just solid white lights that kind of drift in from the west. and they pass behind this area where there's nothing there. There's just this spot, random spot in the sky, but they disappear for a little bit. And then when they come out the other side, they have blinking lights like an airplane.
Right.
So it's really, there's like the old kind of meme joke of you see like a cardboard cutout of a 747, but there's like a UFO, behind it or whatever. It really does make me wonder, though, if they have learned how to hide in plain sight by appearing to be these prosaic things that we just discount and say, it's just an airplane, or it's just satellites, so they can, move around unimpeded.
You got one more for us, correct?
I do. I have one more.
Perfect. We got 5 minutes to go.
Okay. This is Los Angeles, California, August 28th of this year. And it's kind of a short little story, but I'll tell you that there's some amazing video and photos with this one. So it says, while sitting on my balcony, I saw a light in the sky bigger than stars usually appear. I took out my phone to zoom in and see what it was and started taking pictures and videos. It stayed in the same area for about 25 to 30 minutes for the first time I saw it. It moved around a little, but didn't go too far. At the end, it just flew off in the south direction until I couldn't see it anymore. What's amazing is that he uploaded several videos and pictures, and they are fantastic. Now, I obviously can't show them. I mean, I don't think I could show them to you.
Well, it's kind of hard to see on the radio.
Yeah. But it is a V pattern. There's one where he grabbed a kind of like a screen capture, and in a V pattern, there is 5 lights on the left-hand side and 5 lights on the right-hand side. And what's really interesting, there's in this same kind of screen capture, there's stars in the background. So it definitely was, nighttime or getting night-ish. And on some of the pictures, when you zoom in close, you can actually see some sort of a structure around or behind the lights. Now, the New Fork investigator that looked into this, they proposed that it could be an ultralight. If you're not familiar with what an ultralight is, it's basically a seat mounted to a frame with a big fan on the back. And it flies, it stays aloft with a parachute, and you just kind of move this fan direction back and forth, and that's how you fly through the sky. But what's interesting is on the videos and the pictures that he took, you can't see, there's no signs of any parachute or anything that's keeping this thing aloft. And on some of the videos, it actually kind of hovers for a while and then starts moving off, and then stops and hovers for a while and then moves off a little bit more. So it's really quite fascinating. And I can, somehow I can figure out how to link people to the case. They can take a look at the videos and the pictures, because it's an amazing case, and it's relatively recent, within the last 15, 16 days.
When you have a new case like that is relatively fresh, how do you compare it to older cases to look for patterns?
Yeah, I mean, I automatically think about the craft description, the craft behavior, and then I either bump it up against my kind of, compendium in my brain of all these different cases that I've researched over the years. And if I don't come up with anything that's similar, then I just try, looking for that type of shape, or looking for that type of, the time of night that it occurred, the direction that it occurred. What's really interesting, I find, is that a lot of sightings seem to happen in the Northwest. Like, not that they're happening in the Northwest, but they're always in the northwest part of the sky. That's really interesting to me. And it makes me wonder, why is that? Does lighting have something to do with it? The time of day, so that's all the stuff that I'm kind of constantly looking at to see if there's some sort of a discernible pattern that we have maybe overlooked. Sometimes the simplest answer is also the easiest answer to research. And so my hope is that I can identify enough of those kind of little patterns, if you will, not big life-changing altering patterns, but little patterns. And then if I can test the ability to predict a sighting in an area of the sky or at a time of night or whatever the case may be, and then repeat that process, well, now we know when it's going to be, where it's going to be, and we can deploy all kinds of, instrumentation and sensors and all kinds of stuff and learn more about what's going on. So those are the types of patterns that I'm looking for, something that will lead me to the ability to investigate further, more so than just witness testimony or my own experience testimony.
Right. Josh, we have about 1 minute left with you tonight before we have to get ready to say good night to you. But I want to say a big thank you, Josh, for coming on in and doing us the favor, filling in for little Timmy James as he is ailing tonight. But do me a favor, take a little bit of time here to tell everybody where they can find your YouTube channel and your work for MUFON.
Yep. You can go on YouTube. It's at Mystic Journeys 44 is the handle. I've got my podcast on there, another podcast that I'm doing with my friend, and some other stuff that I just put up on YouTube. And then if you want to go to my website, mysticjourneys.com. I do tarot readings and psychic readings for folks, and you can reach out to me there. You can send me an email from that site as well, and love to work with you on anything that you might be trying to uncover or investigate or whatever the case may be. I am presenting, like I said earlier, at Phoenix MUFON on October 11th, and that's at the Arizona Historical Society in Tempe, Arizona, at 12 p.m. Local time. So anybody that's listening or watching, love to see you out there.
Josh, thank you so much as we say goodnight to Josh. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody. That was good, man. That was good.
Yeah, man, it was a good time. It's always fun doing these little hours. Seems like we could probably take up a lot more time. So if you ever need have somebody cancel or whatever, give me a holler.
Always, buddy. Always. Appreciate you. What's the date today? The 15th? Yeah. There we go. 1-5. What else is up? I've heard, I was talking to some people while we were off that there is a little bit of tension in the ranks of Skywatcher.
Oh, I have not heard that. I know it's been a couple months since I put a video out.
Yeah, apparently they're not creating content anymore.
Interesting. And that was one of the things that I really liked about Skywatcher is that they were going to be so transparent. But at the end of the day, it is a technology company. They're not. That's who's backing Skywatcher. So they're not doing this out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because they're hoping they can be the ones that retrieve, craft and learn stuff. So.
Yeah, they are, and I apologize that my back is to you, but I got to do all my Spreaker
Yeah, no worries.
on the other computer here. I'm not trying to be rude here, but
maybe I should turn around.
maybe that would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. So, yeah, apparently a couple people left, and from what I heard from a couple of different sources, is that they are having some issues because the governmental people, the governmental side of things, don't want them to be as transparent as they say they want to be.
But, well, I guess it matters if they are government contractors. Because I think that all the people that are involved are no longer active, and they don't work for, unless, Jake Barber probably still has his multi-million-dollar company or whatever that, how he got involved in the get-go. But the only way the government could influence them directly is via, threaten to lose their contracts. Which, if that's a majority of your income, you probably would bend the knee.
Well, we know they had private funding. We know that.
Yeah, but is it enough to,
Right.
Basically pay 7 people to sit in the desert and, do psionics and try to film UAP? Because I've always heard that private contractors get paid significantly more than actual.
Oh yeah, I've heard that too.
So
I've heard that too.
I'm sure it's, probably, $1 million or more, annual salary for a lot of those, for everybody that's involved. And that's just who we see in front of the camera. We don't know who's behind the camera that is also working on stuff. So that's a lot of funding.
Right.
And, and if it is an effort to privatize, some sort of a consciousness pilot program, and that's what they're trying to get in on, then I can certainly see the government being interested in wanting to, funnel money their way to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Be interesting though.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to see how it plays out. That's for sure.
I think the biggest opportunity, in my opinion, is that with psionics, they're not doing anything that any one of us couldn't do.
That's right. But here's the thing with that though. If I could cut you off for 2 seconds on that. Okay. They have convinced people that they know how to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's the same thing Stephen Greer did with CE5.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how many times over the years I have said to our listeners on the show, if you want to summon, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And I've explained it because it's very simple. It just takes time and patience.
There's this guy right here, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now he mainly talks about tapping into your ability to heal yourself. But there's something that he says, like he repeats it in all of his books and all of his talks and everything. And it is where you set your attention is where you set your intention. Yeah. And, so it's the same thing. If you go out and you're like, I don't know if I can do this because I don't have the CE5 app or I'm not a trained psionics, then
doesn't matter.
You're putting doubt into the experience, and you're going to get out what you put in. But if you go out and you're like, you know what, I want to make contact, and I heard that if I meditate And while I'm meditating, I think about who I want to contact with, and I tell them where I am on the planet, in the solar system, whatever. Then they'll show up. Do that. Take photos, set up video cameras, take whatever equipment you want. Don't do any of that stuff. Just go out there and say, hey, I'm here. Show up. The picture that I sent you from the other night, I literally walked into my backyard and said, can I take your picture? And then I took several long exposure camera shots from my cell phone camera, and that little green guy showed up in one of my pictures.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was no CE5. There was no group of people. There was no, app from Stephen Greer that I had to play. I just set my intention and set my attention, and it showed up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about intention and consciousness, man.
Yep.
It really is.
And you have to be pure of, this is going to sound cliche, but you have to be pure of thought and heart. Like you can't be like, this thing's going to show up and I'm going to shoot it. Like it's not going to show up then, right? You have to be pure intentions.
100%. 100% agree. 100% agree, man. And you got to be able to just understand it. And the problem is people don't do it because they don't have patience.
Well, and I think also they get a little scared.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you're standing in the dark somewhere, wherever you happen to be, maybe by yourself, and you're asking these things to show up. And then it hits you like, what if they actually do show up? What am I going to do? So then fear comes in, it creeps in.
Oh,
and I think
I would agree with you on that.
And I think a lot of times these entities or whatever, they somehow detect our fear. That's why so many abductions happen while you're sleeping, because it's in a situation where they can control your fear response, because we are pretty dangerous when we have a fight or flight situation. So it really has to be, I've spent a lot of time, working myself to control my fear. So that if I do see a shadow out of the corner of my eye, I don't have that immediate fear response, because I'll tell you what, they're just going to run away. They're going to disappear because they don't want to mess with us when we have that fear response.
No, I would agree with you on that. I would agree with you on that one, my friend. Totally agree with you on that one. And it really is a matter of, like you said, intention. And that's what I've told people: pure heart, pure soul, and just thank them.
Yep.
And, the other thing too is your eyes don't lie. You'll be staring up at the sky, and for some reason, your eyes keep going back to this one area in the sky.
Yep.
And that's exactly where it's going to happen. Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. And I've seen some, sometimes stuff doesn't show up the way you expect it to. Like I've seen, there's one thing where you can look up at a cloud and you see a cloud and you're like, oh, that kind of looks like a bunny rabbit. I was at the pool one night and a cloud floated over that looked like a hand, like holding a torch. And then another cloud floated by, and it was the freaking United States of America. A little bit of Canada and a little bit of Central America. Like the whole cloud, that's what it looked like. So sometimes I think messages are sent not in, they don't show up and hand you an envelope, with the information that you're looking for. Sometimes it's a little, it's clues that you have to be open enough to pick up on and connect together.
I would totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. I just want to hear something here. One second.
Podcast Network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news.
Definitely
love it. I love it. Before we get deep into that, let's learn a little bit about you for our audience, Frank. How did this mystery of Atlantis come to your attention? Why did you fall in love with looking at
Well, we're
the subject?
definitely not sending this show.
Okay, well, here's what transpired.
frig. Oh, well, they can choose their own. I'm not editing tonight. Hell with it. Hell with it. I will do a test tomorrow. That's pretty much it. Definitely cannot use that. Definitely cannot use that. Weird. Okay. We'll figure out the settings, my man.
Yep. Well, Dave, I'm going to call it a night. I got a doctor's
You too, my
appointment early in
man.
the
Me
morning,
too.
so.
I got some work to do around here. And thank you, Josh. Appreciate you. And thank you to all of our listeners tonight. I'm going to call it quits as well. Mennonite, Abe, T-Bone ×2, Jeffrey, Walter, Pam Harris, and Kitty Caddywhack. Thank you for the super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, we got our main man, Javier from Cryptid 559, hanging on out with us to talk about cryptids. Yeah, cryptids. You guys have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Josh, thank you, my man. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.